Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show, ladies and gents, where tonight we will be talking all things cursed objects. Now, this is a show I've had planned for quite some time. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and honestly, initially, we were going to do a lot of the bad Amityville sequels. We were going to do a lot of the direct-to-DVD Amityville sequels, whether it be Amityville: The Evil Escapes, Amityville: It's About Time, Amityville with the Dollhouse. I mean, there's so many bad Amityville direct-to-DVD sequels where it kind of, involve cursed objects. And I insisted initially for that, but instead I decided, why don't I just do those when I do the Amityville movies? Because there will be a point where I cover at least the original to the remake. I'm definitely not going to do the ones after the remake, because those you don't even really consider canon. At least I don't. So I decided we'll leave those there. We'll leave those cursed object Amityville sequels on the back burner for when I do Amityville. And I figured tonight, instead, I do not one, not two, but three cursed object movies. Of course, we will be discussing Oculus, which involves the cursed mirror. We will be discussing 1408, which may be a cheat here, a cursed room. I don't know if that's really an object, but it's a cursed hotel room, a cursed haunted hotel room, whatever the hell you want to call it. And lastly, but not leastly, Christine, John Carpenter's Christine from 1983, about the cursed car, the cursed 1958 red Plymouth Fury. So I'm super excited tonight here on Grande's Graveyard. Been planning this show for a very long time. Show prep this week was very fun. And we've got someone in the chat. Miss C is here. Ciao, Grande, and everyone in the chat. Welcome, Miss C. Hope all is well with you here tonight. Good to see you in the chat. But I guess without further ado, we can get underway. I don't have anything to hold up, anything to say cheers to, but everyone cheers to a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy weekend. And we're going to get right underway with this son of a bitch. So I guess to start this off, got three movies to choose from here. I guess we'll start off with the one that's most fresh in my head. This was the last one I watched for show prep, so maybe we'll go in reverse show prep order and how we did this. And it is the movie from 2013. This is Mike Flanagan's Oculus. Yes, Oculus from 2013. I have a brief plot synopsis. Let me just pull that up here. Haunted by the violent deaths of their parents 10 years earlier, adult siblings Kaylee and Tim are now struggling to rebuild their relationship. Kaylee suspects that their antique mirror is behind the tragedy and contains a malevolent supernatural force that infects the mind of anyone who gazes into it. Yes. Oh, yes. We're talking about Oculus. Yes, Oculus, which came out in 2013. I saw this in the theater in 2013. This was a PG-13 movie, and this was actually before I was of the age to see R-rated movies. I believe I was 15 at the time when this came out, maybe 16 years old when Oculus came out in the theater, and I was super excited that I could go see it. I didn't have to sneak in or anything like that, and I ended up quite liking it in the theater, but it had been almost 10 years since I went back, sat down, and rewatched it, which I did tonight for the show. So I'm super excited to get into this one. We do have someone else in the chat. Wes is here. I am the Ice Lord. Ciao and cheers, Grande. Welcome, my friend Wes. Hope all is well with you, good brother. Everyone, if you haven't tuned into Psychobabble will be on it either tonight or I'm sorry, tomorrow or Saturday. They do the best shows. Love those guys over there. Last week we had Curly on, so no stranger to, of course, Psychobabble. But Oculus. So this is a movie, like I said, I liked it the first time I saw it, but second time around, I really was quite mixed on this one. And it's interesting to hear some of the backstory with this movie. Of course, Mike Flanagan, who has gone on to become a bigger and bigger name as horror has gone on, came up with this idea in like the early to mid 2000s about a cursed mirror. And he did some short films revolving around this very same plot. And of course, he approached studios in like 2005, 2006 to get it made into a feature-length film. And they told him, of course, under one condition. He said, what's the condition? They said, it has to be found footage style, or else we're not going to give you the money to finance it. And good luck to you, pal. This is Hollywood. You either roll our way or you don't. And Mike Flanagan was crushed by this. I don't want to do it found footage. I want to make it like a theatrical, real film. I don't want to do any of this shaky cam bullshit that was big at the time and was definitely becoming bigger again at that time. I mean, 2006, 2007, 2008, found footage was definitely on a second wave, whether it be the Cloverfield movie, whether it be the Die or the Dead movie, whether it be all these movies, Paranormal Activity, that just kind of took the horror world by storm, and more imitators were coming out. So the studio said, we want you to be an imitator, Mike Flanagan. And Mike Flanagan, I respect this wholeheartedly. He backed out and said, no, I don't want to do it your way. I'm not doing it. Don't give me the finance. Don't bother. I'll find my own way. He directed his first feature-length film in the meantime in 2011. And then finally, by the time 2013 rolls around, they gave him the money and the finances to make this movie, Oculus. Now, an interesting thing about this movie, it's produced by Blumhouse, who most people know I'm not a fan of Blumhouse. It's also produced by WWE Studios. Yes, that WWE. And there's a few Easter eggs in this movie. There's a nod to Triple H, of all people, in this fucking movie, which I thought was quite weird. When they're naming this mirror at the estate, they mention the Levesque estate, which is Triple H's real name is Paul Levesque. So I thought that was quite interesting with this movie. And I don't know, like, you think about this movie on paper, it doesn't sound like much. It sounds like it could be very cliche. I mean, mirrors, right? They're one of the horror's biggest cliches. We look into the mirror, we see the side of ourselves, the dark side, the light side, whatever the fuck. It could be very cliche. It could be very played out. But this movie isn't like that at all. This movie really isn't talking about what we see in the mirror. It really is about a possessed mirror. And I'm super excited to talk about it tonight. We got a couple people more in the chat. Let's see. Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande. So curious for tonight. First curse object, I think, first is the Mangler. Boy, that laundry press was thirsty for human blood. Jays won 10-9 in St. Louis. First game, first W. Hell yeah, Mateo. Happy for the Jays. And, dude, yeah, the Mangler was one I definitely could have done, but I stayed away from the Mangler for good reasons. Thanks for the shout out, dude. Psychobabble will be live Saturday night about 8 p.m. Eastern. Awesome. Everyone look forward to that. King Gore is in the house. Corey, what's up, good brother? Slasher Fred, I think cursed objects are sort of like making a deal with the devil. Sure. I mean, sure, it definitely can be. And hence we deal with this devil known as Oculus here. So this movie does this interesting thing with its editing, and this is my biggest kind of problem with it as well. They jump back and forth a lot. We know that brother and sister, they were young, they were kids, and their parents apparently went crazy because of this mirror. The father was blamed for killing the wife, and the kid said he went crazy. Then the son apparently killed the father in self-defense, but he's been in a mental institution. And we jump back from that to modern day, where we have Karen Gillan, who probably steals this movie. She's arguably the best thing in this movie. She's gone on to do so much good stuff. I mean, she's Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. She's in these new Jumanji movies. I just really like Karen Gillan. I think she's a great talent, really easy on the eyes, and a damn good actress. And I would say this is her best performance. I really like her in this movie as the sister Kaylee. And of course, the brother, she gets him out of the institution after years and years. And she says, hey, you promised that we're going to confront this mirror again. He says, listen, we were crazy. There's no way this mirror could have been the real deal. Holyfield, we really got to just move on and move away from it. And of course, at auction, the mirror is sold and Karen Gillan decides to steal it. They return to their childhood home and try to face their childhood demons. And like I said, the biggest issue I have with this movie is the jump between time. We spend about the same amount of time in both eras, and I don't think that works. We spend way too much time in the past where we know essentially and in essence what happened, right? We know that these parents aren't going to make it alive. We know the son's going to be locked up in an institution. We know how that's going to end. So I feel like they spent a little too much time. This is about 100-minute movie. They spend like 40 to 45 minutes in this, and I think it was way too long. Now, there's a reason for this, though, because, of course, Mike Flanagan had only made this ever as a short. So to elongate it to feature length, he played with the editing style, and they jump back and forth between the time points. And I think that's the movie's biggest crutch. I really do. It hurts the movie. I mean, to the point where it really hurts the pacing. It slows the film down. Now, everything in the modern day with Karen Gillan, I think it's a 10 out of 10. The other stuff, I don't know. But I do think, for what it's worth, Mike Flanagan does some really interesting things here from the director's chair. There's some really decent scare sequences. And this is a common theme on the show. I think 1408, Christine, Oculus, all three of these movies have very good, well done, directed scare sequences. And I think that's a big takeaway for Oculus. The big takeaway for Oculus is Mike Flanagan's talent, because Mike Flanagan went on to do Hush, which is a great home invasion movie, his version of like a modern day Halloween. Of course, you have The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Haunting of Hill House. He did Dr. Sleep. I mean, the guy is becoming a big name in horror. I know he's the number one guy that all these marks and fans want to see make the Elm Street reboot when that comes out. I'm not really interested in him doing that. Granted, if they're going to, if they have to, he would be a great choice because he knows how to do scare sequences. He knows how to use his imagination. But I just think Elm Street's better left alone. Just leave it alone after that fucking remake. Am I right? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Ron, I had no idea you were rug free. We gotta get this man some rugs. What the hell are you talking about? Rug free? Oh, I'm drug free. This fucking guy. I'm drug free, my guy. This clown. I was so confused. Amiable Karen still has my vote for cursed wine bottle LMAO. Just teasing Grande. Oh, does it? Well, maybe. Like I said, whenever I cover the Amityville movies, but the ones that aren't canon, I don't know. Hey, Grande, moved into a new apartment. Just got rehooked up to the internet. We'll be listening at least. Dude, thank you so much, Brian. Welcome to the Grave Room, my friend. Got him. You did get me. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? This Corey just throwing out nonsense on this show here. But I really enjoy this movie for the most part. Like I said, it does have pacing problems, but let's get into some of the scare sequences. Now, I like the way they build up the mirror itself. Karen Gillan actually does her research on the original owner and all of the owners to own the mirror since, and all of them have died in these like bizarre, creepy ways. One guy who bought it, he put it above his fireplace, and they found him like 2 days later, burned alive in the fireplace. They had one lady who was a maid, and she was a maid, and she basically was cleaning in front of the thing and then died of dehydration in a bathtub. I mean, it's some creepy ass, deaths that surround this mirror. I mean, it's just creepy if you think about it, how they kind of explain some of the deaths to you. And I think they did a good job with telling, not showing. Like, you made me kind of fill in those blanks in my own mind. Like, I pictured her dehydrating. I pictured the guy burning to death. There's one story where she tells where a guy went to destroy the mirror, ran up to it with a big blunt object, and then just put it down, walked out into traffic, and got fucking ran down. So you can tell that there's really no taking out this mirror easily. And Karen Gillan has it set up where this contraption of like a kind of anvil anchor weight is set up at the ceiling, and she has it on a timer. So when the timer runs out, it's going to come down, smash the mirror, and hopefully break the curse, break the spell, break the malevolence, if you will, of this haunted mirror. And I thought, what a cool setup, what a cool concept. And like I said, there's some interesting kind of things they do with this movie where the mirror distorts reality. You could be thinking you're on the phone with your boyfriend and you're really not. There's a few times where Karen Gillan's husband calls her and she's like, I'm 50-50 on if that was him or not. There's a scene where they're screwing in light bulbs to try to light the house and light the cameras to get, any kind of glimpse of paranormal activity. And they're also eating these apples. Karen Gillan picks up an apple, bites it, and then all of a sudden reality is distorted and she thinks she's taken a bite of a light bulb. And just the pure horror on her face in that scene as she's spitting out blood and glass all over the floor, and just the horrified look on her face, that's some of the best acting you'll ever see. I mean, Karen Gillan, I can't tell you enough how good she is in this film. I really think she's great. And that sequence, man, it fucks with you. Like, it really messes with your head. Like, fuck, like, I'll triple take the next time I bite into an apple. Make sure, all right, this isn't a 60 watt, is it? I mean, that's some scary shit. And I think Mike Flanagan did a good job with that, in my humble opinion. I think he did a really good job. We got some more people in the chat. Let me get over here. I think we were with Terry. Terry is here. Hello, all. Welcome, Terry. Pat is here. Have Cheetah will view. Here we go. Hell yeah, brother. Thumbs up, Grande. Thank you so much, my friend. People saying hi to each other. Let's see. I think we were here. One of the classic cursed object stories is the monkey's paw, where you have this couple who buys the souvenir that seems to grant them their desires, but it all comes with a price. Absolutely. Always liked Oculus. I think so too. I kind of like it too. Like I said, the back and forth editing, I wish could have been cleaned up. Like, I think if you took like 20 minutes out of the flashback stuff and you cut this down to like an 80-minute movie, I think you got to or if that, not that, take some of that stuff and add more stuff with Karen Gillan and the brother in modern day. Like, I would have took way more stuff in the modern day. I think that's the only real issue with the movie, because some of the flashback stuff works, some of it doesn't. I'll get a little bit into that, but we got hi all. Oculus is a good pick, but Flanagan cursed object movie that I like more is Ouija Origin of Evil. Well, that somehow is a franchise. I believe that was a prequel to Ouija 2014, which that's a movie best left forgotten. But no, I really like Mike Flanagan's work overall. I really think he's one of the best directors in the game right now. I really do. And this was my introduction to him. And then, of course, Hush. And I was introduced to all of his other movies and television series and stuff like that. I'm a fan of the guy. I think the guy is really good. And this is a very good sophomorial effort, if you will, from him. I think this is a damn good movie. Oculus was a fun film. Yeah, no, I like it overall. I mean, I'll talk about some of the stuff I don't like, I guess. I mean, I can get into some of that. So there are certain flashback scenes where the mirror is distorting reality to think that maybe the husband is cheating on the wife. And the wife is actually the chick from Halloween Resurrection, the blonde who gets decapitated by Michael Myers. Katie Sackhoff, I think her name is. She's also on The Mandalorian for Mandalorian fans out there. She's kind of in this movie as the mom. I don't think she does the greatest job. She's kind of just there. So is the father, and it just didn't really. I think it's kind of a weak performance from the father, whereas in certain haunted house movies or cursed object movies like James Brolin in Amityville Horror, I'm genuinely scared of that fucking guy. Like when he gets upset and fucking angry, you get scared. This actor, I just felt like he didn't have any oomph to him. He didn't have any real, like, he wasn't a very threatening or menacing guy. I felt like they definitely could have cast somebody better as the father. I don't even know his damn name. I mean, I guess I could look it up, but I don't know. I just didn't think the guy playing the father, Rory Cochrane. Yeah, no, Rory, didn't care for your performance, pal. No energy, no oomph at all, in my humble opinion. But they do these things in the flashback where you think the wife assumes that there's an affair going on, to get them turned against each other, and it seems like it's really only affecting the parents in the flashbacks. And I don't know, I just feel like that stuff goes on a little too long for my liking. A little bit messy. I think you could have cut out at least 15-20 minutes there, added 10-15 minutes in the modern day, and you've got a 10 out of 10 movie. Unfortunately, that other stuff does bring the film down. But honestly, a positive note, I do think overall this is a very original horror movie in and of the fact, like I said, mirrors can be very cliche. We could have easily went, oh, it's about the horrors within ourselves and things like that, and we're all afraid of our own reflection and things like that. No, like, this is just a haunted mirror, like a possessed mirror that, you every now and again you'll see these little ghosts pop up with these bright wide eyes. And I thought those were interesting visuals from Mike Flanagan. Nothing that we haven't seen there before, but overall I liked the fact that he made this mirror feel like a big threat, and it does feel threatening, and it's the stories of putting it over from Karen Gillan and some of the distorting reality and distorting time and things like that, and their true fear of selling it, the brother and sister, I think makes this movie work. Now, it does have a wild ending, so I'm going to get into spoilers here, so be warned. The ending is fairly downbeat, of course. So Karen Gillan has, like I said, has the plan to destroy the mirror with the anvil contraption. And of course, they distort reality, and she thinks her mother is coming through the mirror in a flashback. Oh, come hug me. She reaches her arms out, which Karen Gillan's character should have known better. But of course, she walks towards it. The brother pulls the lever, and the fucking thing comes down and bam, hits Karen Gillan right in the neck. And she just starts bleeding out everywhere. And of course, when the police arrive and see that she is dead, they replay the footage, and it looks like from the tape that the brother has murdered his own sister. And of course, he gets carried into a police car just 2 days after getting out of a fucking mental asylum. And of course, they keep flashing back and forward from when he was a child to modern day. And then I think there is where we get the only metaphor of history's repeating itself. It's literally reflecting itself. Like, what happened when you were kids, you tried to fight it, it didn't work. Now you're trying to fight it, it didn't work, and it's reflecting. I mean, the only difference here, instead of your parents dying, now your sister's gone, and you're still going to be taken away. And now you're definitely spending the rest of your life in an asylum or an institution or whatever the fuck, or jail. I thought that was really well done. I thought, okay, definitely endings, downbeat endings. People say they're overdone, but I think also at the same time, those same people could say happy endings are overdone. So I do think there's a little bit of a, you can't win no matter what you've done. I mean, if they had defeated the mirror, someone would have been like, oh, that's just so sappy and PG-13 horror, and they would have probably threw stones at a glass house. Whereas this does end kind of downbeat, and I felt that, yeah, like, I definitely thought it was earned. I thought the mirror earned it, man. Like, Karen Gillan thought of everything to beat it, and it still won. It still goes over. I don't know. I like Oculus. I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's I will say this, the pacing of the movie, definitely a problem. It's a little bit feeling of a lengthy film. It's not the shortest movie in the world, but I think if you haven't seen it, I would say give it a shot. I definitely think it's worth a watch. So that's just my opinion on Oculus. Charles Lee Ray, Chucky himself. Hey, what's up, everyone? A little busy right now, but going to try to come back for the stream. Awesome, Charles Lee Ray. I'm happy to have you here. I appreciate you stopping by. But Oculus, if I had to rank this one out of 10, I'm going to come in with like a 7 out of 10. I think this is a pretty good movie, a example of a good modern horror movie. Nothing great, nothing groundbreaking, but to me, a good movie to kind of use as a building block of Mike Flanagan's career. I would agree with Tom where he said he's gone on to do better. I mean, I would agree. I like Ouija Origin of Evil better than this movie. I like Hush better than this movie. I like, granted, I actually haven't seen Dr. Sleep, so I couldn't say, but I mean, Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. I mean, some of the stuff he's gone on to do, I mean, has been really, really quality stuff. But I like to see where he started here. It's like a lot of these filmmakers, at least great filmmakers, they have to start somewhere. And some of them start with their best. But I think the truly great ones go on to make their best. And they make these good standalone movies in the beginning to kind of build their resume, thus becoming a great filmmaker down the road. And I think Mike Flanagan is one of those guys. I'm very hopeful for him. I think the sky is the limit for him. I just hope they don't keep having him do reboots. Like when I heard Dr. Sleep, I went, I'm not that interested. I mean, I know Mike Flanagan will do a good job in the director's chair, but I want to keep seeing original content from him, whether it be Oculus, whether it be Hush, whether it be, I know Ouija Origin of Evil was a prequel, but it was a prequel to a very fucking bad generic movie in Ouija from 2014. Let's be honest. Haunting of Hill House, that's like everybody's fucking favorite horror miniseries that there ever was. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. Is a possessed object the same as a cursed object? I would say, yeah. I don't know. I maybe should have titled the show something else, but I don't know. I think cursed objects just sounded good. Whatever. The mirror is the Hulk Hogan of the cursed object. No one can go over him. No one, brother. I hit you with the big boot, the leg drop, 1, 2, 3, and we're out of here, pal. You know, I really, I don't know. I liked Oculus. And it's funny. It's produced by fucking WWE Studios, which I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's so odd because WWE Studios got away from making horror movies pretty much directly after this. I mean, they do the 12 rounds and the Marine 4. And I know they did in 2006, they did a little movie called See No Evil with Kane. And that one I always really liked. I thought that was a really good slasher movie where it was these like juvenile delinquents and they go into a fucking like rundown motel and they're asked to just do like community service, clean it up. And then, of course, Jacob Goodnight, played by Glenn Jacobs himself, of course, fucking Kane, picks them off one by one and takes their eyes out. I always thought that was a really good slasher movie, like a really undersung direct-to-DVD slasher movie that was better than had any right to be. And then, of course, they had to ruin that too and do a fucking sequel, which was fucking bad, even though the Saska sisters did it. Aiden Vaber's in the house, and look at the wow, that is a fucking pro pick, if I say so myself. A 58 Plymouth Fury. Hello, everyone. All the 3 of these films you were talking about are really good films, and one of them is my all-time favorite Stephen King film. And I'm going to have to take a guess that it is Christine and not 1408. There was a cursed object film called The Box. That I wouldn't. Oh, well, actually, it could depend on what. The one I'm thinking of, if it's the same one, is the Richard Kelly one, which is the fucking one where the Cameron Diaz and James Marsden get the box in the mail, and if you hit the button, you win $1 million, but someone dies. That is one of the biggest pieces of shit of all time, and it was, oh my god, like to see how far from grace Richard Kelly fell. From Donnie Darko to The Box. I mean, I could do a show based on that, just how fucking far that motherfucker fell. Because there ain't no getting up from that shit. I don't care what the fuck somebody says. So technically, Chucky is a cursed object. You could say so, yeah. It's a possessed doll, a cursed doll, whatever. Or, I mean, I think more people would say, oh, Annabelle, because Annabelle, at least depending on which one you watch. I know in the 2014 Annabelle, it's a Manson-like cult that she puts herself into the doll. And then in the prequel, they're like, oh, no, that didn't really happen. It was it was already haunted or something. I don't know. Those Annabelle movies that fucking just leave my brain. They didn't stick. WWE produced Oculus. I am glad they put money into a good film. I'm shocked because, like, you look at the people who produced this, it shouldn't be anywhere near as good as it is. WWE and Blumhouse? I would think this would be about a fucking mirror, the fucking pedigrees and Sweet Chin Music's motherfuckers. and instead it's actually a really good atmospheric horror film, and it's PG-13. It has no business being as stylistic, and I wouldn't say it's scary. I think 1408 is scary, but it has good scare sequences. It has definitely has its feet in the right place, its heart in the right place. 1408 is pretty damn awesome, and top 5 King films. I love 1408, and I guess we'll get into that one next. I really like Richard Kelly. He wrote my favorite Tony Scott film, Domino, and Donnie Darko's great as well. I haven't seen Southland Tales in a hot minute, but The Box is truly awful. Yeah, The Box is funny story about The Box. I never thought in my life I'd get into a tangent on The fucking Box from 2009, but here we are. The Box, I remember renting from the Red Box, and it was me and my dad. It was like fucking midnight, 12:30. We were upstate, and we had just got out of like a Stop and Shop, and we were fucking stacked up on like Italian sandwiches and pizza rolls and Mountain Dew and cold cuts and all this shit to clog our arteries. And that was the first time I ever remember seeing the Red Box. And we said, Dad, the Red Box, check this out, only $1 to rent the movie. So we looked in the Red Box, and the movie we picked was The Box. So we said, we'll get The Box from the Red Box. We went back. We were howling, laughing. We were roasting it to the point where, to this day, fucking 13 years later, we could still sit down and just talk about, or 14 years later now, still talk about how fucking bad that movie was. Like, and it was just so funny to me how bad that movie was. Yes, 1408 I need to see again. I really like it. I'm going to get into that one next. Speaking of Manson, according to Don Mancini, one of the names that Chucky's full name, Charles Lee Ray, was from Charles Manson. Yes, absolutely. And I would assume, I'm sure he used serial killers for all of them, right? Like, fucking, granted, I'm not the greatest with serial killers, but I'm sure you could find one of them or whatever the fuck. But that is Oculus. Like I said, 7 out of 10. I think it's pretty decent. I definitely think it had some, room to improve. It was one of those movies that could have been a little bit better, but considering where it came out from, considering the time era, I thought it was a pretty decent effort, and a movie that I definitely think deserves a little bit more credit than it deserves. Like I said, not the greatest movie in the world, but definitely one that's, I think, a little bit worth your time. So that brings us to our next film, though, from the year 2007. This is 1408. Yes, 1408. Let me get the full screen here and a brief plot synopsis. Hacked off with his miserable life, the quasi-successful author of spine-chilling ghost stories, Mike Enslin, makes a living debunking supernatural events by visiting sites of reported paranormal activity. Profoundly cynical, Enslin receives an anonymous postcard warning him not to check into the mysterious room 1408 of Manhattan's Dolphin Hotel. Of course, only to spark his suspicious interest. Intrigued, Mike chooses to ignore the hotel manager's insistent warnings of the evil room's grave dangers. And after packing his spirit-detecting gear, he boldly enters the secret realm of a bizarre occurrence and surreal instances. Will room 1408 make for an excellent final chapter in a novel, or the last chapter of Mike Enslin's life? Yes, 1408. This is, and funny enough, I guess I have another brief anecdote here of, I can tell you where I was when I first watched this. I first watched this at a sleepover when I think I was around the ripe old age of like 8 or 9. I think we watched this movie. And my good friend Nick Shizumi, who has since moved away, I miss Nick Shizumi. Shout out to Nick Shizumi, man. We'll dedicate this review to Nick Shizumi, because I wouldn't have seen it without him at that time. We did a sleepover, a bunch of people, and it was a great time. I remember just having a really good time. And he kept talking this movie, 1408. You got to watch 1408. Grande, you love horror movies. I want to watch 1408. And he had the brand new 2-disc DVD. And I remember we popped that in, and I was blown away by the movie. I thought it was a really damn good movie from top to bottom, and I really enjoyed it. And that's why tonight I was like, if I'm doing cursed objects, I think this gives me a kind of a somewhat excuse to do 1408. I know it's a cursed, haunted room. I don't know if you consider a room an object, but I figured close enough. It's not a haunted house because it's not a hotel. It's a hotel, not a house. So I don't think it would fit under the haunted house movie thing either. So I figured cursed hotel room, close enough to being a cursed object. That's kind of my rationale for having it here on the show tonight. 1408 is a PG-13 horror film, and it's one of the best in the genre. It's truly great stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. These first two we're talking about here tonight, both PG-13. But I would say that this particular one is the scariest of the three. If I was going scare sequences exclusive, the director Michael Hafstrom did a really good job with directing this movie. And it's unfortunate because he really didn't go on to do anything that impressive. Hey, everyone, busy right now, but I'll try and come back for the end of the stream. Sean Blue Digital, thank you so much for checking in, good brother. Hope all is well with you. There is a scene in 1408 where KT, I'm not sure what you mean, Slasher Fred. Hey, people saying hi to each other. Okay. So right off the bat, I think what makes this one a little bit different from most other cursed objects movies is it is about a cursed room. It is about this haunted hotel room of 1408. And again, we have the kind of prep or hype character, if you will, in Sam Jackson, the hotel manager Olin, and he's telling about all the horrible things that has happened in room 1408. He's trying to convince John Cusack, hey, don't go in this room. I'll get you Knicks tickets. I'll give you cherry brandy. I'll give you whatever the fuck you want. Just do not go in that room because I don't want to clean up the mess. And the one scene they really share together in this hotel in the lobby is, I mean, that's acting 101. I mean, I love the way they played off each other. And it's a damn shame because I wish they were together more in the movie. And then, of course, follow down the road 9 years later, they made a movie together called Cell, which was another Stephen King adaptation. And they're together the entire movie in that. And that's an awful film. So it's a damn shame that the good movie, we get one scene with them. The bad movie, we get an entire movie with them because they played off each other great. Just natural, really good chemistry between the two actors. I mean, Sam Jackson's one of the best ever. And of course, John Cusack, somebody I've never been a diehard fan of, but I would argue this is his best role. And I think what sets this apart, like I was saying, is this isn't really necessarily a movie about a cursed room. It's really more a movie about a cursed man. Of course, John Cusack's character, he's lost his young daughter to an illness, and he has totally turned his back on the world. He totally resents everyone and everything in the world. His wife is, their marriage crumbled after losing their daughter. He's kind of stiff-armed her out of the picture. He's miserable going to all of these kind of writer conventions, signing for 4 or 5 people, answering the same BS questions of, debunking these supernatural events. And he is truly just a miserable human being. He has not gotten over the loss of his loved daughter. He absolutely was crippled by it. And it's quite sad to see. And Cusack does a very good job at not overselling the sadness here, but really kind of portraying a depressed person. This is someone who has had it, who is fed up, who cannot take it anymore. And when given the chance to enter a room that may actually be haunted, he wants to jump at that chance. He wants to take that chance because he believes in his heart of hearts that there is no such thing as a God, that there is no such thing in this movie as, of course, I wanted to get this brief, little quote here. Do you know why I could stay in your spooky old hotel room, Mr. Olin? Because I know that ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties do not exist. And even if they did, there's no God to protect us from there now, is there? I mean, really good, really good. I love Cusack's intensity. I really do like his intensity there. It's quite well done. And then, of course, he goes up to the room after being warned by Sam Jackson and being told all these horror stories of a maid that went in there and cut her own eyes out, was hysterically laughing, all these horrible things that happen in the room. He checks in, and then the movie really does not let down from that point. Once he's checked in, the movie just, bam, we're off to the races. And we have some very unique horror sequences done by the director, Michael Hafstrom, who, like I said, has really gone on to do nothing. He did The Rite with Anthony Hopkins, which is a boring piece of shit exorcism movie. He did Escape Plan with Sly Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I wanted to like that movie. I really wanted to like that movie, but it was a fucking letdown. That's a huge fucking letdown of a movie. You have the two biggest action stars, arguably of all time, together in a movie, and you do a bland escape prison thriller movie that had little to no action in it. That is a huge fucking disappointment. And I can't believe that the same guy who did this, who made an effective horror movie with good scare sequences and a good story and good acting from John Cusack, Sam Jackson, respectively, would turn around to make a movie like that. It's just such a shame. Like, to me, like, I don't know. It's I guess a part of life. I mean, some of these guys can't make the quality stuff every time out, like a Mike Flanagan and like a John Carpenter, which we'll get to. Let me get to comments though before I go into some more of the scare sequences here. I think we were Oh, geez, I missed quite a view. I think we were here. There's a scene in 1408 where it looks like John Cusack's character has escaped from the room and is out on the beach. That part I have a little bit of an issue with, but we'll get there. Hey, what's up? Trenchy's in the house. Trenchy, welcome. I love the back and forth between Cusack and Jackson in that one scene. Dude, it's great. Those two, like, that's some of the best back and forth chemistry acting you'll see. I love that. I highly enjoy 1408, both the short story and the movie. I would agree with that. I like the short story as well. I read the short story as well, and I thought it was quite good. John Cusack yelling at the freezer is one of the best things I've ever seen and put in a film. Yes, because that's when it really boils over for him. That's when he's really fucking had it up to here, and he just lets it out finally. Because a lot of it's selling with his eyes, selling with the fear, selling with expression. That point, he yelps it out, and it's very good, or yawps it out, I guess. I only watched 1408 because someone told me Sam Jackson had a brief cameo. Imagine my disappointment when he barely cussed, let alone no motherfucker. As for the movie, I could take it or leave it. Really? Well, he does say fuck because he asked him, if it's not any of those things, then what is it? And well, I must have beat Sam Jackson. It's an evil fucking room. I remember I was like, yo, I remember we were at the sleepover when we were a little kid, and we fucking were like, yeah, like that line got us. We were fucking sold right there. Like, it's an evil fucking room. This is right around the time of I've had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. That might have been the next year with Sam Jackson. Wow, I forgot about Cell. That looked terrible. It was fucking terrible. 1408 was decent. Not a big fan, but I think that both Samuel L. Jackson and Cusack are two Oscar-worthy actors. Cusack best in Factory. Dude, I don't know. I can't lie. I've never been a diehard John Cusack guy. Like, I never was into Say Anything, or I always liked the brief role he had in Stand By Me. I don't know. I haven't really watched him in that much. He's not an actor I've really delved into his leading role stuff. Sam Jackson is, to me, one of the all-time great. I mean, there's really few actors as fucking pro as Sam Jackson. Like, I mean, I know everybody mentions Jules Winfield from fucking Pulp Fiction. That's one of the best supporting roles of all time. He should have won the Oscar for it, and he was robbed. He was absolutely fucking robbed. I forget who beat him, but he was robbed out of an Oscar for that, in my opinion. Adding to your double bill of cursed objects with Stephen King theme, he has a novel movie filled with them needful things. I've actually never seen that. So I'd definitely be interested in hearing if it's good or not. There's also a director's cut version. Yes, we're going to get into all the different fucking versions of this movie. It's very interesting that there's like 4 different endings to this movie. People saying hi to one another. Needful Things is a great novel, but a shit of a movie. Okay. Mateo has weighed in. I definitely, Tom, if you by all means, if you think the movie's good, let me know. But Mateo says a shit movie. I've not read it or seen the movie, so I definitely would have to check it out for myself, I guess. But I really enjoy 1408, and I think it's a damn good movie. And of course, I was getting into the scare sequences. Of course, John Cusack, he notices that one of the clocks in the room starts playing this old school like music. And of course, it's 60 minutes and it starts counting down from 60 minutes. There's a timer on this. Oh, shit. The weather in the room starts changing. There's a scene where he gets cut. He gets his hand cut, and then he tries to wash the cut, and scalding hot water comes out all over his hand, and he freaks out, screams, and all that. And, okay, I want to check out now. Now I want to check out. I'm sold. I'm sold. And, of course, once you're checking in, you ain't checking out, motherfucker. And, man, I like some of the scare sequences. There's a great scene where he's trying to get the attention of somebody from across the way in a building, and he keeps waving like this, like, hey, help, call the police, help. Of course, he keeps doing this, and he notices whatever he does, the person across the way is mimicking. And of course, he looks back, and then the person from across the way puts a lamp underneath, and it's John Cusack. It's like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, he sees this like weird guy behind him with like a hammer, and he's looking, and then he turns around, and bam, the guy's in the room with him. That got me so good. Like, what a good jump scare. Where you're like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't expect that to be in this movie. I expect, like, supernatural old school ghosts, which there are. You see some of the people that maybe have died in the room. Their souls stay in the room forever. They're checked into the room forever. You see some of that, and that stuff is pretty good. But I didn't expect the guy jumping out of nowhere with a fucking hammer starts swinging at John Cusack. I was like, holy crap. Like, that got me to jump. I think there's 2 very interesting Stephen King nods to other anthology films. And if you're a fan of Creepshow or Cat's Eye, listen up, because I definitely think both of these have to be nods to those 2 movies. And I love these little Easter eggs. I would think they were intentional, but I don't know. First one being John Cusack goes on the ledge on the outside. His idea is if I stay on the ledge and go to the next room, I could kick the window in and I'm out of the room. So he goes on, starts on the ledge and starts going to the side. And of course, he realizes no windows exist except the one in 1408. So he's, oh, fuck. He has to get back. That to me was a callback to the Cat's Eye segment, the ledge, which just keeping you on your toes. I mean, that's one of the funnest segments in Cat's Eye. I love Cat's Eye. I think that's a lot of fun. And I totally, when I was like, Stephen King, it's on a ledge. That's got to be a callback to fucking Cat's Eye. And the second one, I actually, as a kid, laughed out loud. I was the only person at the sleepover that I think got it because none of them had seen Creepshow. There's a scene where John Cusack walks into the bathroom and he sees his dead father. He's in a wheelchair and he's all upset with him, saying he was not a good writer and he was worthless and he wasn't happy and proud of him. That made me think of Jordy Verrill, because if you remember in the Jordy Verrill segment of Creepshow, Stephen King starts talking to his dead father in the fucking mirror of the bathroom. And the same thing, you're fucking worthless, you're an idiot, they're not going to sell anything to you, you touched it, you moron, Jordy. I was like, holy shit, like this is, what a weird place to put a Creepshow Easter egg. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I've never heard anyone else mention it. It's not in the trivia or anything I looked up for this film. That's just two definite to me Easter eggs that I noticed, and I don't know, I've never heard anyone else knows. Maybe if you guys can weigh in the chat, say if I'm crazy or not. I saw a connection. I was like, holy shit, that's got to be a fucking Easter egg nod to Creepshow, and that other one had to be a nod to Cat's Eye, which the ledge segment. Although both of those things were well done, but I think, coming full circle about what I was saying before of how he's a cursed man, I think this room was really the thing that he had to face at the time, because his life had really crumbled around him, and his cynical kind of skeptical look at the world, and there is no God because he took my child, and it's quite sad. It's quite heartfelt. And I think John Cusack does a great job portraying those emotions to the viewer. I think he's really gives a great performance as he's just really sad. Of course, there's some interesting things with the distorting reality in this. He's trying to call his wife on like a Skype call, if you will, and the room is kind of playing with it where it's like, oh, come to room 1408. You can come and die with me. Like the room is trying to summon her to come. And he's like, I didn't say that. Don't listen to him. He's yelling at the fucking thing. No, don't. I thought that was very interesting. One thing that didn't work for me, there's a very brief sequence where he thinks he's escaped the room and he's on the beach and like, he goes to the post office. That sequence is too long. That they fucking absolutely should have cut that down or cut that out. I would have cut it out because I just felt like when I was watching it, even for the first time, I was like, bullshit. I was like, that's not, he didn't fucking get out of the room. Like, no fucking way. Like, I call bullshit the minute I saw that, even from the first time. So I felt that sequence really didn't work. And then, of course, it's, oh my God, I'm back in the room. It's like 15 minutes of like, that didn't need to be there, or it needed to be cut down. Like maybe cut it down to 7.5, 8, cut it down. Like I definitely think that little snippet of the movie is like one of the only things that doesn't work. Of course, he realizes he's back in the room, and this is where this movie gets very interesting, because depending on which version you watch, you're going to get a different ending. Now, what do I mean by that? On the DVD, you get I think the theatrical cut. On the DVD, you get the theatrical cut. On the Blu-ray, you get the director's cut. However, there was a 2-disc special edition DVD where you got both cuts plus 2 other alternate endings. Yes, because there is not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different endings for this fucking movie. And that is absolutely wild, but it is the fucking God honest truth, because, of course, they couldn't decide how to end this movie. Now, I think none of these are particularly great endings. I really don't. But we could run through them, of course, and we could, I guess, talk about which ones you guys like or dislike or whatever the fuck. Because even from the first time I watched the movie, I was like, on the ending. And then when I heard there was other endings, I went, wow, let me see the other endings. And none of them ever really blew me away. There is the main ending where, I guess, if I had to pick, this is the one I think works best. He burns the room down in spite because he's saying, I want to get out. And they say, you'll either spend the rest of your life in this room, reliving that last hour for the rest of your life, or you can do self checkout, which is he has to hang himself on a noose in the room. And instead, he decides, I'm burning this motherfucker down. If I'm dying, I'm taking this room with me, which I like that aspect of it. He burns the room down. He's laughing and all of that stuff. He even sees his own daughter at a point. That's a really sad, heartfelt moment. At a spite of the room, I'm taking it down. And then you see Sam Jackson kind of drinking the expensive drink he offered him, saying like, good job, like good shit, Mike Enslin. Like, I'm glad that at least you took that fucking room out with you. That I liked. And if it ended there, good. But they fucking don't do that. They go to a post-funeral scene where Sam Jackson shows up at the funeral. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Here's his shit. They didn't want it. The wife and whoever don't want it. Tony Shalhoub's randomly in there for Monk. I love Tony Shalhoub. He gets in the fucking car and he's listening to the fucking tape recorder and he thinks he sees John Cusack's like burned body in the backseat. He's like, oh shit. And he looks out and he sees the ghosts of the father and daughter like walking off into the sunset. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that, like, too much shit. Like, just end it. He burned the room down. He died. Tragedy. But at least he took the evil of the world out with him. And, that's it. He's ended his miserable life. He's ended this haunted, horrible room as it screams in terror. I thought, fine, like, end it there, Sam Jackson. I'm drinking a fucking cocktail now. And then you could speculate. Did Sam Jackson say all that stuff to warn him, knowing that he'd take the bait? Who sent him the 1408 card? Who sent the anonymous don't check in? We never find that out. I mean, everyone thinks it's Sam Jackson. I think it was Sam Jackson. So you maybe could have just left it there, left it open ending. Okay, I don't know. But they don't do that either. And the other three endings really aren't that much. There's two endings where he gets out of the room. The firefighters come in and save him, even though it's a haunted fucking room. That didn't make any sense to me. To me, John Cusack has to die in there. I don't like the endings, either one where he lives. I just feel like he felt he knew better. He didn't know fucking better. You check in, you're not checking out. If you're going to beat the room, you're dying with the room. At least that's how like my horror mind works. At least I think he should have died in the room. There's no happy ending for his character here, at least to me. I don't see it. But there are two endings. There's one where he gets out. He's listening to the tape recorder at the end, and the fucking wife can't hear the daughter. So he's like, do you hear Ellie? Or Katie? Yeah, it's Katie. Do you hear Katie? I don't hear her. And then there's one where, oh, I do hear her. So it's proof that he was in a haunted room. He didn't go crazy, blah, 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 which we all know, which neither one of those to me do anything. I think they're both fucking farts in churches. And then the last ending does nothing either. It's like he dies in the room, and then it's like they show his ex-wife and Tony Shalhoub is playing the tape. And he's hearing all the stuff about the novel, and then it just fucking randomly just pans out. I thought like all the endings to this movie were fairly weak, where you have a great movie for like, I don't know, 75, 80, maybe even 90% of it. And then you get to the ending where it's like, oh man, they really didn't know how to end this here. So the interesting thing though, of the short story, they never used the short story for any of these endings. And I think maybe they probably should have. Now, what happens in the short story, he kind of finds a way, maneuvers to like trick it to, I think, is it something with his shirt? I forget. I haven't read the short story in a while, and I should have reread it for show prep. But I believe he like imagines himself elsewhere, and he's able to get out of the room. Like he tricks the room and gets out, and then he's in the lobby and he's telling all the people like, "Holy shit, don't fucking go in there!" And then the novel just kind of abruptly, at least the short story ends. I think that's, maybe would have been interesting, maybe would have been worth shooting. I just think he beats the room, he dies, pan to Sam Jackson, taking a sip. Whoa, did he set him up? I don't know. That's an interesting car ride for the conversation home, right? At least that's what I think. So I don't know. 1408 overall, though, is really good. I think it is directed well, acted well, has a lot of heart. I think it's a very underrated Stephen King movie. I mean, it was, at the time, Stephen King was really fading out. I mean, you look at the 1980s, 1990s, you couldn't look anywhere without Stephen King's name on something. This was around a period of time where Stephen King's name wasn't really as much in the public scene. And this movie made a lot of money at the time. This movie was a fairly decent hit. And I don't know, I really like it. I definitely think there should be, a little bit more love given to this one. And that's kind of why I wanted to cover it on the show tonight. So let's get back to comments. I think we were here. It was Martin Landau for Ed Wood. Wow. I mean, I love Martin Landau. I do. But you have to fucking give it to Sam Jackson for Pulp Fiction. I mean, and if you're not going to give it to him for Pulp Fiction, you had to give it to him for fucking Jackie Brown. You had to. I mean, fucking, it's a crying shame Sam Jackson's never won an Oscar. I mean, the guy was fantastic. Sorry, Grande, I think Pulp Fiction is overrated. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, man, I love Pulp Fiction, but I totally understand. I stayed up to watch that Oscars and thought Jackson was robbed, but then I saw Ed Wood and it was close one to me. I love Ed Wood. I love Ed Wood a lot. I don't know. I just feel like the Jules Winfield character is like to this day remembered. Like I see people with the bad motherfucker wallets and Ezekiel 25:17 says, I am the righteous man. And, on any other normal day, both of your dumbasses would be dead, but you happen to be catching me in a transitional period. Like to me, Sam Jackson is the best thing in Pulp Fiction. I always felt that way. And I know a lot of people always viewed Pulp Fiction as Travolta's big comeback. And at the time, I suppose it was because he had been making duds. And then he did, was it Get Shorty or whatever the fuck? He had a decent renaissance from that. But like, to me, I always saw that as Sam Jackson's like coming out party. Like that's a fucking star, right? Like, whereas in Jurassic Park, he's hold on to your butts. It's a memorable side role. That was the movie that really was like Sam Jackson's a fucking player, man. Like this is not just a goofy side guy. He could really fucking be the lead and kick ass and take names in a film. And he went on to do that to this day. Sam Jackson's one of the biggest names in Hollywood, and for good reason. I don't know. I think he should have won. And to me, if he did not win for this, which is a crime, he should have won for Jackie Brown. And I know that he has said that was his favorite role he ever did was the, I fucking forget. I want to say, I forget the fucking character's name in Jackie Brown, but I think he's great in it. Landau played Bela Lugosi. That is right. Yeah. That scene is like an homage to the classic Marx Brothers film, Duck Soup. Yeah, no. And there's funny enough, they said Sam Jackson mentions that somebody dies from drowning in their soup in 1408. Yeah, Martin Landau was an armed robbery. I kind of agree. Like, I like Martin Landau, but it's just, come on, man. Really? Like, okay, I could get Hanks winning for fucking Forrest Gump in that same year. I totally get that. I'll put it this way. I think Denzel Washington should have won the previous year for Philadelphia. I know he was probably up for Best Supporting, whereas Hanks won for Best Lead. I love Hanks in the movie, but I think Denzel is the best part about Philadelphia. I do. And it's funny. It's like, it's just weird how the narrative kind of changed. It's like Pulp Fiction. It's Travolta's big comeback movie on top of being this, groundbreaking movie, and it's out of linear storyline telling, and it's all essentially dialogue. And I mean, Quentin Tarantino, that's one of the movies that changed movies. I mean, Pulp Fiction was so important to movies. And whether you like it or not, you can't deny its significance on movies as a whole. But in my opinion, the reason I watch Pulp Fiction is Sam Jackson. There's no fucking doubt in my mind. That's why I watched that movie. It's his monologue in the diner at the end. Why don't you want to eat any of these things? Pork chops taste good. And fuck that shit, man. There was a sign, like he's convinced. Grande, I forgot about Sam dropping the F-bomb. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's not the same if he doesn't use the motherfucker. Okay, so he didn't say the mother part, so you were totally like take it or leave it. I hear you. I guess the mother is an important part of motherfucker. Cat's Eye. Sorry, I had a fucking burp and it didn't come up. Cat's Eye is underrated. Love the segment with the troll I love all of the fucking, I think Cat's Eye is one of the best horror anthologies. I really do. I actually think the James Wood one is the best. I love the Quitters Inc. I mean, that's fucking great with I'll be watching you. I mean, that's one of the best fucking horror segments of all time, man. I love that shit. Okay, thanks, Terrence. Thought so, wasn't 100% sure. Mr. Dan is here. Welcome, Mr. Dan. Hope all is well with you. In the opening Cat's Eye, the cat is chased by Cujo, nearly run over by Christine. Yes, that's a movie that has all sorts of Stephen King nods in it as well. I'm with you in the King references in 1408. Here's another one. One of the people that died in the room was what? Oh, was that? Oh shit, I didn't catch that. See, I just rewatched it 2 nights ago. Didn't catch that at all. That is a fucking, see, okay, a little Shining in there for you too. Very cool. I guess the only other thing could have been like, We want to move you to room 237 or something like that. There are multiple endings to this film, but I easily prefer the theatrical ending. I don't know what I prefer. I think all of the endings are kind of weak. Like I really do. Like I like the idea of him dying with the room, but I hate the post funeral scene with fucking just to have a jump scare in there. It's just like what? Like it's over. Like what the hell? Like I would have rather more emotional. I'm with my daughter again, even though that doesn't make sense to me with this ending. I mean, he killed himself. To me, it doesn't make sense. But again, he didn't believe in God. So I don't know. I think the endings of this movie are kind of weak. I think they could have done something better. I've only seen the theatrical ending. I didn't know about the other three endings. Well, dude, I don't know. I don't know about them either. I just told you all of them and I don't know about them. So it's just kind of weird. The 90s comedy Wayne's World also has many different alternate endings. I love Wayne's World. Wayne's World's great. I actually recently discovered a movie that I'd never fucking heard of with Mike Myers in it called 54. And it's like a not a biopic or I guess it's more of like a historical like fictional pick on Studio 54. And it had like an all-star cast, like fucking Nev Campbell in it, Salma Hayek. I was like, I want to see this movie. And Mike Myers plays like the Studio 54 club owner. I've got to fucking see that movie. Like I added it to my watch list today. I was like, I've never fucking heard of this. So I'm definitely going to give that a watch. Mark is here, more like Stephen King Crown. Okay, Mark is here. 1408 and The Mist, both Stephen King film adaptations came out the same year in 2007 and are incredible films. That's true. Ordell Robbie, that's right. Okay, I was gonna say Robbie, but I knew it wasn't all right. Martin Landau's daughter, Julie Landau, has a cameo in Ed Wood. Oh, cool. Okay, Jackie Brown, but I have a bunch of Pam Grier films that I have to watch. I love Pam Grier, man. Matt, Jackie Brown. You still going live Thursday nights? Nice. I'll be able to catch your shows. Oh, hell yeah, brother. Labyrinth UFC Breakdown is in the house. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. Waving high. 54 is not that great. Yeah, I read that it's a fucking movie where the producers bashed, unfortunately. But, I mean, it is what it is. So, I don't know. It's one of those Harvey Weinstein movies where he got too fucking involved, which fuck Harvey Weinstein. But 1408, if I had to rank it out of 10, rated out of 10, I think it's really good. I would say like an 8 or 8.5. I think it's a really fucking good movie. Like overall, I really like the film. I think weak ending and a little chunk in there with where the fake, like, oh, we got out, not really. That little portion and the endings, the messy endings, are the only like 2 points I take off. The rest of it is great. Top-notch scare sequences, top-notch story, top-notch acting, top-notch fucking atmosphere, which sorely lacks in all of Michael Hafstrom's other films. I wish to God he had fucking figured it out. You know, I know he's made some Swedish independent films before this that are really, really highly regarded. One of them involving like a school. I definitely want to see that. I definitely would like to see his work before this because his work after this has really been very lackluster in my humble opinion. So, I mean, it is a shame, but 14081, I definitely recommend, which brings us to, of course, our final movie of the evening. And this one I actually own on Blu-ray disc, baby. This movie is going to be celebrating its 40th anniversary this coming December. So we got a little ways to go till there. We got a good, 8-9 months till we get there. But this is John Carpenter's film from 1983, an adaptation of Stephen King's Christine. Yes, Christine from 1983. Brief plot synopsis. A nerdish boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, and his nature starts to change to reflect it. Yes, Christine. I was the day I was born. I was bad of the bone. Bad. Christine. I mean, I love this movie. I just rewatched it for Show Prep Monday night. I watched all the features on this too. This is thankfully not a bare bones Blu-ray. I believe the movie has since dropped in 4K. Not sure how that movie looks in 4K. I love the Blu-ray. I think it looks fantastic. Now, this was an interesting movie, though, before we get into the movie itself, in the career of John Carpenter. Because, in my opinion, this is one of the movies that really kind of saved his theatrical career at the time. And a lot of people probably scratch their head like, what? Here's the thing. And funny enough, I mean, no pun intended there, but it is the pun intended, The Thing, right? Here's The Thing. The Thing had come out the year before this. It's one of the all-time great horror movies. My favorite John Carpenter film. I mean, it is arguably one of the best horror movies ever made. It is in a lot of people's top 10 for good reason. It's arguably the best remake ever. I mean, I love The Thing. It's Kurt Russell, fucking R.J. McCready, the fucking score from Ennio Morricone, just amazing practical effects. You gotta love The Thing. The Thing flopped, both critically and commercially. And a lot of people forget it critically flopped, but it did. It was not a very well reviewed movie. It commercially did not do much business. And if you dial the clocks back to Halloween, post Halloween, he did, of course, The Fog. He did Escape from New York, both all-time classic horror movies. Again, not movies that made ginormous profit. So he was at an interesting point in his career where he sort of needed a hit in order to continue to make the movies he wanted to make. Thus, he was really a director for hire more so on Christine, as opposed to this being a passion project for him. And the idea was to sell it with Stephen King's name, who was the hottest flavor in the entire horror genre at the time. A little movie called Carrie comes out in 77. A little movie called The Shining comes out in 1980. A little movie called Creepshow comes out in 82. These were movies that set the world on fire. These were movies that got Stephen King's name on the map and noticed and became a huge name in horror. John Carpenter takes the source material and makes Christine. And of course, he was a director for hire. This was a job for him. But who better to direct a movie about a fucking cursed car than fucking John Carpenter? And I really, truly believe this in my heart of hearts. There's no other director that could have done it as good as John Carpenter. I really believe that. I know people may suggest action directors. They may say names, throw names out here and there. No way. No fucking way. John Carpenter was the only motherfucker that could have directed this, and he hit a home run. I love Christine. I'm a big fan. But I know we see some comments here, so let's see. John Carpenter is my all-time favorite filmmaker, and he did a wonderful job with Christine. I mean, I love Christine. John Carpenter is one of the best. Christine is a top 20 horrors ever made. King plus Carpenter. I love the scene where Ernie turns into completely evil. Show me. Love it. I'll tell you about my favorite scene when we get there, because this has one of my favorite scenes in horror history in it. The opening of her scene is so iconic. Oh my God, yes. And the genius of putting the 50s music, the bad to the bone, and there are scenes where the kind of bullies, the Buddy Repperton, which I know the Dead Pit guys, they always did the song, Buddy Repperton, the fucking song with the bully. I love Buddy Repperton. That's fucking one of the best names of all time. Of course, they're trying to break in and vandalize the car. They play the Little Richard song. You came on knocking, but you can't come in. But you came on knocking. Love that. I mean, some of the soundtrack used in this movie are just fantastic. I love the old school aesthetic, kind of making the music match the 58 car. I mean, it matches the time period of the car. That was brilliant. And like I said, the opening, like establishing right off the bat that this car was evil off the assembly line. I just love that. Unpopular opinion, I don't like Christine. There's some cool scenes and kills, but not a fan of the plot and the characters too much, really. Much prefer the 70s, The Car, for killer car films. Very interesting. Hot take from Trench here, but this is why we love Trench. I appreciate the hot take, man. Thank you for sharing that. And if you want it, please share with us why you prefer The Car over Christine. I'd definitely be down to hear it. Both this film and Escape from New York star the late Harry Dean Stanton. May he rest in peace. Love Harry Dean Stanton. Of course, he was on fire at that time. He did Alien just before that, so love Harry Dean Stanton. The Thing is my all-time favorite film, but I completely agree. Christine saved Carpenter's theatrical career. It really did. And not that this was a massive hit. Christine is truly the most stylish film Carpenter ever made. We'll get into that for sure. I think this movie saved his theatrical career because he needed a hit. Now, this movie was made on a budget of like 10 million, gross like 21. So it wasn't a giant hit. And I believe 15% of the budget went to the cars. Like they went to because they had to destroy some of the cars and make some of the cars look mangled and this, that, and the other. So about 15% of your $10 million budget, so that's $1.5 million, went to just the cars alone. That's crazy, in my humble opinion, how much fucking money they invested in just cars alone. That's before cast, crew, all that shit. There's just in the car itself. But I guess about a killer car, you've got to invest a little something. Speaking of Carrie, the movie, oh my God, yes. And I got actually kind of sad when I saw Kelly Preston in this movie, because this is the first movie I've watched with her since she passed. And when she showed up in the film, I actually kind of got upset. I was sitting here, I was like, man, what a beautiful fucking woman Kelly Preston was. You want to talk about, okay, there might be women that were hotter than Kelly Preston. I don't think you can't name 10 women more beautiful than Kelly Preston was. That's one of the most top 10 beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. fucking beautiful smile, eyes, demeanor, just a fucking absolute once in a lifetime talent. They don't make them like fucking Kelly Preston. John Travolta, you're a lucky man to have been married to fucking Kelly Preston. May she rest in peace. And I'll tell you what, we dedicated the 1408 to Nick Shizumi. Let's dedicate this review of Christine to the late Kelly Preston, who, like I said, has a small role in this film. But she's easily the best looking person in this entire movie. And it's always good to see her, man. And Kelly Preston was just a once in a lifetime beauty. I just thought she was wonderful. I loved everything she ever did. But getting into Christine, I really like, number one thing I think about this movie is Carpenter's style and the cast. I really like Keith Gordon as the lead, John Stockwell as his buddy. Of course, you have Diane Wiest, I believe, plays the mom. At least I thought she played the mom. I don't see her name down here. That's weird. I thought it was Diane. Am I crazy? Was it not Diane Wiest that played the fucking mom? All right, somebody have to check me on that. I always thought it was Diane Wiest. But maybe it's a Diane Wiest fucking impersonator. I don't know. I liked her as the mom. If it was Diane Wiest, I'm not sure. But I think the actors do a wonderful job. And like similar vein to 1408 about how I was saying that's more about a haunted man entering a haunted room. This is the story of a loser finding something that is just as ugly as him, as he puts it. He finds this car, Christine, buys it for $250. We see the day in his life where he's bullied by Buddy Repperton and his lunch is destroyed. And, you definitely have some bullying themes in similar vein to Carrie. Instead of the outcast girl, it's the outcast boy who can't, get laid or get with girls. And he's all, focused on his grades and stuff like that. And he feels he's ugly on the inside. He's just a total Poindexter, total nerd, total loser. And of course, he finds this car that is as ugly as he, and he buys it from, it's funny, it's the old man from Home Alone. I'm like, hey, it's the fucking neighbor from Home Alone, the fucking guy with the shovel who hits Joe Pesci over the fucking head at the end of that movie. And oh shit, it's him. He sells him the car and he basically buys it, and slowly but surely he fixes the car up, and the car starts to kind of break his, spirit and make him turn into something that he's not. And as the car, Christine, improves in the way it looks, so does Arnie. Of course, Arnie Cunningham, or which was ripped off with this bullshit Halloween Ends movie, but let's not get into that. He starts to change his look, and then all of a sudden he's dating the most beautiful girl. Well, one of the most beautiful girls in school. Alexandra Paul plays Lee in the movie. They try to make it like, oh, she's better looking than Kelly Preston. No fucking way. For the chat here, no fucking way. Kelly Preston or Alexandra Paul as Lee. Come on. Kelly Preston, 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 over this. Like, she was pretty, the other girl, but not even fucking half as beautiful as Kelly Preston. I was like, there's a scene where John Stockwell walks right past Kelly Preston to try to ask her out, the Alexandra Paul character. I'm sitting there, I'm like, no fucking way. If Kelly Preston looked at me like she looked at fucking John Stockwell in this movie, I would be set for life. Your boy would be set, man. I'd be like, yo, I'm chilling right now. Kelly Preston, man. Get the fuck out of here. I never found that believable. In a movie about a killer car, that was the most unbelievable thing, was fucking him passing on Kelly Preston. Get the fuck out of here. But that is neither here nor there. It was just something in my brain where I was always like, fuck no. But that's nothing against the film. I still think it's a great film. Of course, you have these really cool sequences of Christine, hinting that it's alive. And to me, the best scene in this movie is when, of course, Arnie starts dating the lead character and they go out to a drive-in movie and they're hooking up in the car. He's feeling her yits. She's feeling his goods. And he leaves for a minute and she decides, hey, I'm going to take a bite of a burger. And the scene kind of plays out. She takes a bite of the burger. The doors kind of close and locks, and the way Carpenter lights this is brilliant. It's this bright white light as she starts choking for her life. Man, that's why you want to know why John Carpenter has the reputation he has? Watch that scene. That's fucking horror done perfect. You're horrified for her in the moment. It's horrifyingly claustrophobic. Fucking Arnie can't get into the car. There's another guy trying to get into the car, try to save her. She's like choking to death and shit like that. I know on the interviews on this, she said that mad people have made fun of her for overselling that performance and overselling the choking to death. I think he did a wonderful job. It horrified me to the point where I try not to have cheeseburgers in my fucking car. I had a cheeseburger today for lunch, but you better bet your bottom dollar that I was at a fucking table at a Wendy's and not in my car because of Christine, man. That forever scared the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck? That is a really good fucking well done horror sequence, man. And of course, as soon as all that said, the radio, the music changes, and she even notices, she's like, this is fucking weird. Like something's up with this fucking car, man. Like I'm not having it with your fucking car. I really like how she kind of knows that, you know, he feels for the car and the car feels for him. And it's through the relationship of Arnie and Christine that you really get this sense of uncomfort, right? Like he's kind of fallen in love with his car. Not in a Titan kind of way from, of course, people have seen Titan as a woman fucking a car. Not to that degree, but basically kind of hinting at some sort of romance between the two. And Christine senses jealousy from the lead character. Thus is why it tries to kill her. It's pure evil. It wants nothing to come between it and Arnie. And I think that was great. I really like the story that told. And I mean, there's some great sequences where the car is picking off the bullies and driving while on fire. It takes out a gas station. There's one scene where the kid, he kind of hides in the alley and the car can't clearly fit. And of course, Christine just goes right through it and just, no. I mean, crushes the guy. I mean, great stuff. I mean, this easily could have been laughably bad. Because on paper, what you have, a killer car movie. That sounds fucking dumb. How many dumb killer object movies are there out there? There's Killer Sofa, Killer Pinata, Killer fucking, I think there's a Killer Bong movie. There's so many movies where it's like, take an object, make it goofy, make it fun, whatever, 70 minutes, you're in, you're out. This easily could have been that type of movie, if not taken seriously by John Carpenter. But I think John Carpenter was the perfect guy for the job. And interestingly enough, and I remember when I first watched this, I thought Dean Cundey did the director of photography. I thought he did the cinematography in the film. It is not Dean Cundey that does the cinematography here. And I was astounded when I found that out because it felt like the Carpenter Cundey scope. At least it did. But upon rewatching, I could tell it wasn't. I mean, I was actually kind of flabbergasted. I was like, because I figured Carpenter, Cundey, those two work together, but this was a studio picture, so they probably wanted their own cinematographer. But I still think the guy that did the cinematography, and I could maybe get his name here. I actually should have looked this up as well. Donald M. Morgan, as the director of photography here, did a wonderful job. I love the look of this film. I think it's really good. Like I said, it's not the classic Cundey scope, but it's still a fucking really good looking film, especially in blue. And I'm sure the 4K looks amazing. I can only imagine how good the 4K looks. But let me get back to comments. I think we were... Oh, wow. We got a ton of these. I think we were here. Christine is truly the most stylish Carpenter movie ever made. That's a bold statement, but I think it's one of the movies that benefits most from his style, right? Like, because The Thing, you have great special makeup effects. Halloween, you have the classic score and the classic story of the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, the story of evil on two legs coming back to its hometown to cause havoc in Haddonfield. You have The Fog, the old ghost story around the campfire being told by Donald Pleasance. You have so many Carpenter movies that stand out for so many different reasons. This one is definitely up there with style. I would actually maybe argue Prince of Darkness with style, because that was the most Argento Carpenter ever got. Like the whole thing with the green kind of mist and ooze. And I love the fucking feel of that movie. To me, it's like when it comes to style in Carpenter, very few movies reach the pinnacle of Prince of Darkness. But I mean, Christine is definitely up there. I think that's a great pick. Speaking of Carrie, the movie also has a small appearance, but okay, well, I must have read these. I'm sorry. I agree with Trenchy. I'm not a huge fan of Christine. Wow, not a big fan of any of these movies, Miss C. Very interesting. I could take or leave it. I'm just not a huge fan of Stephen King, except for Carrie, Misery, and Secret Window. Those are good movies, definitely. I love Christine, though. Okay, Trenchy's reasoning. Okay, let's see. I prefer the car because it's just simple to point. Demon car from hell wreaks havoc on a small town. Christine just has this dumb, I love the car and the car loves me thing that just annoys me. Okay, fair enough. I kind of like that aspect of it, and I think it makes the film a little bit deeper, but I totally understand. In the opening scene of the original Ghostbusters, the actor who played the male student that Peter Venkman is giving electric shocks is played by one of the bullies in Christine. Very cool. And that, I believe, Ghostbusters was 84, so that was the following year. John Carpenter presents Herbie Fully Loaded. Yes, Herbie Fully Loaded, starring Lindsay Lohan with the fucking ankle bracelet. Miss C, You Break My Heart. Yeah, Mateo's like, this is one of my top 20 horror movies. And Miss C's like, nah. Mateo's laughing. I love the scene where Christine is chasing the fat bully Moochie, and yes, no, that's a great kill scene. I mean, that's fucking great. It could have been fun and creepy, but the way it was performed for me, it was just cringy and eye rolling to me personally. And I'm not huge on the characters. The two sides are okay, but Arnie is just annoying. Wow. Okay, so Trench is definitely against this movie. So interesting take here from Mr. Trench. But again, I appreciate the different. Yes, thank you. Not even close. I mean, not even close. And in fact, I would have recasted Kelly Preston as the fucking girlfriend. I think that would have been so much better. I can really make a lot of people mad. I don't like John Carpenter either. Wow, really? I've never heard anybody say that. There are some cool scenes where, well, okay, maybe personally I've heard people say that. Like I've heard he wasn't the greatest to beat. Like I've heard people say he wasn't the best at a convention. Like he's not the best, nicest. Like he's definitely not Romero when it comes to like, you never heard a bad story about Romero. And, with Carpenter, I've heard bad stories, which is unfortunate. I've never met him, so I couldn't really say. There's some cool scenes where the car rebuilds itself. Oh, yeah, no, I love that. The kills are good, but it just doesn't save the film for me as a whole, which doesn't work for me. I'd rather the car could just kill people with no motive. I understand. Don't be sorry at all. I asked you to, dude, I appreciate your comments. This movie is sort of a Fatal Attraction type of movie because the jealous girlfriend, she sees Lee as a threat to her and Arnie's so-called relationship. Of course, yeah. I can only imagine what Christine would do if they decided to go with a sex scene in her car. That would have been a very interesting deleted scene, and they probably should have went there. Maybe Christine would have fucking freaked out or turned the heat up in the car. I don't know. I have no idea what they would have done with that, but that is an interesting fucking thought. But yeah, no, like I said, I really enjoy the way Carpenter directs this movie. And I think the finale especially is very well done. The whole battle with the car, and they get the bulldozer, Lee and John Stockwell, they get the bulldozer to try to take out Christine. And there's a wonderful moment where, not Dean Stockwell, I'm sorry. Fucking Keith Gordon smashes through the windshield, and he's lying almost dead, motionless. He's got, all this blood, and he kind of has that one last moment where he touches the grill of Christine. I thought that was really interesting. Like a last, like, I love you kind of moment, even though without saying it without saying it type of thing. I thought that was brilliant. I really did. I thought that was nice. And I do think there's interesting points where I never got this feeling, but I know there are people apparently that do, at least apparently, according to the interviews. They kept it kind of a mystery to say, like, was Arnie really driving the car the whole time? Like, they're trying to get you to think that maybe he's behind some of this. I never, ever, ever thought that, but they seem to insist that it was a thing in the special features in this. Like, the writer saying I wanted that to deliberate. I'm like, I never got that vibe from the movie. Like, I just felt Christine was evil. Like, I don't know. All of these movies, like even Oculus, there's the point where, oh, are they crazy? No, like you could tell from the fucking word go that the shit is haunted or cursed or whatever the fuck. I don't know. At least that's just me. I never felt that was a great aspect of this movie. But, like people were saying before, the regeneration of the car are very interesting. But then when they finally demolish it and take it off to the fucking junkyard, just like the sense of relief for a brief moment. And then, of course, they zoom in on Christine and you see that it starts to wiggle a little bit. Like, there's no killing this fucking car. This car is going to keep coming back again and again and again. And they play, of course, the Bad to the Bone. I'll bet since the day I was born. I love that. I think that's just great. A great score, great direction from Carpenter, really good emotional acting from Keith Gordon, John Stockwell. That's the thing you'll find with all three of these movies, coincidentally. All three of them have top-notch acting. I really believe that. And I think top-notch direction. I mean, we looked at a Mike Flanagan film, a Michael Hofstrom film, which I know I said he fell off, but that was a really well-directed movie. And then, of course, John Carpenter, who's arguably the most infamous and famous and most beloved horror filmmaker that there ever fucking was. And for good reason. I mean, Christine is a movie that is like that. And to me, this, like I said, this easily could have been a joke. It easily could have been passe. It easily could have been like, oh, you remember that fucking dumb fucking movie, Christine, with the killer car? And this will sound really mean considering I love the movie. I actually really like the movie, no matter how bad it is to people. This could have easily been Maximum Overdrive. And what do I mean by that? I like Maximum Overdrive, shockingly enough. I actually really like that movie. I have a fun time with that movie. But the tone of that movie is stupid. And what people remember from Maximum Overdrive is the legacy of it being fucking stupid. The Green Goblin truck, people remember. The lady screaming, the fucking annoying lady screaming. Emilio Estevez cooking fucking fried eggs. That's the things we all remember from, honey, this machine just called me an asshole. I mean, that's how people remember Maximum Overdrive. Whether you love it or you hate it, it's remembered for being a goofy horror film, goofball. This is not remembered in that light at all. It's remembered for being what it is by the people that do remember it, and that is a horror classic, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think it easily could have been botched if you picked any other fucking filmmaker. It easily could have been a situation where the ball was dropped. I really do believe that. I don't know. I really like Christine. For Christine, again, I'll probably go 8.5 or probably a 9 out of 10. I fucking really like Christine. I think if I had any problem with the movie, like the only reason it wouldn't be a 10 out of 10, it is a little too long. Like I think it's just around 2 hours. Is it like, what is it? 150, 110 minutes? 110 minutes. So it's about 2 hours. It's a little bit long, but granted, I couldn't give you anything, for example, that I would cut. So with that being said, it's like I don't know what I really complain about. I like the movie top to bottom. It's astounding to me that he could do this as a job and do that good of a job. Because it's like when you're doing a passion project, man, your heart is in there. When you wrote it, your heart is so much more in there than when you're just director for hire. But it felt like his heart was in there because he was in the prime of his career. This is the best possible time for Carpenter to make this movie, which allows him to make Starman, which allows him to make Big Trouble in Little China, which again, Big Trouble in Little China was a commercial flop, and then he said, "Fuck it, I'm just going to do independent movies," and made They Live, which is another one of my probably in my top 3 Carpenter films. So I think Christine is a big, big, big thank you to that because I don't know if he gets the Starman job without Christine. I really do believe that. And I think, this is an important movie in Carpenter's career. I think this is a movie in King's career that gets mentioned, but I don't know if it's mentioned as much as a Carrie, as a Misery, as The Shining. I don't know if it's mentioned as highly in that regard, but I think it kind of deserves to be. I love Christine. 9 out of 10 for Christine for me. Let's get back to the chat. Let's see. We were here. Prince of Darkness is truly amazing looking film, especially since that film cost $3 million. Dude, I have the 4K. That movie looks fucking nuts. And that's the classic Cundy scope. I love I think fucking Prince of Darkness is great. I'm just not impressed with Carpenter as a director. Z overrated. All right. Wow. I have never heard anybody say that. That is a very interesting take, Miss C. Christine was wild. Dude, I love Christine. Curly Girl, welcome. My guest from last week. We did an awesome show on the Ring series. If you haven't checked that out, you could check out the replay of that. It was so good and fun to have Curly on. And we were talking about pizza and food and seafood for the 3 days after. So Curly, tomorrow, maybe on my lunch, we'll talk about more food together. Curly Girl, welcome. Always good to see you. I love the theme to Christine. So do I. I think Christine is just top to bottom a really fucking good movie. OMG, man. Maximum Overdrive. That's the thing. Like, when it came out, it was like fucking buried. Like it was hated. And like now it's like I kind of look at that movie with fond like enjoyment just because it's so ridiculous. Like I enjoy it. Like I enjoy laughing at it and with it at the same time, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I kind of enjoy that movie. Yeah, it kind of is. Like I always kind of liked Maximum Overdrive. It's no fucking Christine, but it's a fun, stupid, goofy. I think maybe that's why. Maybe because you were saying you like the car better than Christine. Maybe that's why you prefer Maximum Overdrive. That's maybe the dumb, fun, goofy movie that you were looking for with a killer car movie. Maybe instead of getting a more serious take with relationship themes and character-driven scenes about this outcast finding another outcast, thus falling in love, and then people get picked off one by one. And what's the catch? The killer is a car. I mean, very creative, I think, but I could totally see why you would like Maximum Overdrive in the car and not maybe like Christine. They're very different tone, even though all of them have to do with vehicles killing motherfuckers. Remember when David Gordon Green tried to remake Christine with Halloween Ends? I do. And Corey Cunningham. I do remember that. And boy, what a flop that was. I remember Maximum Overdrive for the AC/DC theme. Oh my God, dude. The AC/DC theme in that movie is amazing. I mean, I love the fucking soundtrack of I really like Maximum Overdrive. I'm not even gonna lie. It's like one of my biggest guilty pleasures of all time. I love the movie. A guy gets killed by a soda machine, and there's a man with a Twinkie on his head that's killed by video game legendary status. Yeah, no, I love the hey honey, this machine is calling me an asshole. I always thought that was laugh out loud funny. Could Maximum Overdrive be considered cursed objects? I mean, yeah, definitely, right? I mean, it's a fucking. I guess it could have been. I mean, I don't know. I only did 3 cursed objects, but we could do more shows like this. I mean, there's a ton of cursed object movies. These were just the 3 I picked. You will never see Billy the Kid protecting Lisa Simpson from the Green Goblin ever again. That is fucking true. I don't know, Miss C. I think it was supposed to be like the comet that resurrected the trucks. Oh, okay. I don't know. Seafood rocks. Hell yeah. Undead of Night. I love Carpenter's Christine, but I wish he'd keep the history of the car with George LeBay instead of combining his character with his brother Ronald. George's daughter died eating a burger in Christine. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't even mention that. I agree. It's kind of weird exposition. The old man from Home Alone, the actor, I don't know his name, but he mentioned that his brother died in the car. Leave it at that. I agree. Maybe you should just leave it at that. I think adding more was no good. Like, we already saw the opening scene, what this car can do, where this car comes from. This car is pure evil. I thought you said enough there. Like, I think that scene, all right, yeah, in a movie that's 110 minutes, if there was something you could have cut out, that would have been fine. Then you trim it down a little, trimming some of the fat. Sometimes it's good to trim some of the fat off of these things. And not that it was like crippling or detrimental or horrible. I agree with you, though. I think it's a little bit unneeded. Vampires is truly an underrated Carpenter film in terms of cinematography. I love the red tint, gritty Western look of that film. I love Vampires as well. I think that's a great movie. He really, I mean, he made a lot of great movies. There's no doubt. Maximum Overdrive is one of those kind of silly, the whole film. But yeah, I kind of liked how silly it was too. I think that's the silliness puts Overdrive over Christine for me. Yeah, see, like, as a if you're asking me from a critical standpoint, Christine all day. You're asking me for like which one would you rather fucking watch with soda pop and buddies and just laugh at? Definitely Maximum Overdrive. So you have 2 completely different animals under the same umbrella of Stephen King. And we did 2 of the 3 were Stephen King here tonight. So, honestly, coincidence, but I don't know. When I was thinking cursed objects, like I said in the outro or the intro, I initially thought the Amityville movies, we're going to do the Amityville with the lamp and maybe the clock and the dollhouse and all that shit. I figured I'd just save that for down the road when I do Amityville. So I definitely will do Amityville 1 through the remake, and then we'll cut it off there. But those would all qualify the cursed object Amityville movies, which would be fun. And I don't know, I think it would be really cool because I live so close to the Amityville house. It would be so fucking cool to record there. Like, I would love to try to get permission to just record on their lawn with the Amityville house behind me and we could even release it as an Amityville movie because there's no what the fuck is it called? Copyright. There's no copyright on that. Like, you could name this video Amityville whatever, and it's officially an Amityville movie. Like, that's all it takes to make an Amityville. There was an Amityville movie where this guy recorded himself reading a book and farting, and it's called Amityville Gas Chamber. It's an official Amityville movie. So, if he could do that, why the fuck can't I go do a Grande's Graveyard in front of the Amityville Horror House, aside from getting the fucking owner's permission? That would be the hard part. But if I did, that would be a really fun fucking Grande's Graveyard. Doing it next to, in front of, or inside the fucking Amityville Horror House. That would be a lot of fun. That'd be something I'd have to probably contact the fucking owner and be like, explain to them, but I doubt it would work. But I will try, motherfuckers. I will fucking try. Vampires is great, so much fun. I agree with that. John Carpenter has so many great films. It's insane how underappreciated he was when making. That's true. It really is true. He really was one of those guys that, he made quality stuff his whole career, but it's like his legacy is bigger than his prime was, if that makes no sense. I mean, if that makes any sense. His legacy, like us looking back now, like Big Trouble in Little China is bigger now than it was then. Fucking the Thing is bigger now than it was then. There's so many movies he did aside from fucking Halloween. Really he didn't make a movie that was big then and now. Like it's very few of them. Prince of Darkness, same thing. They Live was a moderate hit, definitely a moderate hit. He did do a few stinkers. I mean, Memoirs of a Invisible Man is probably his worst movie. Well, Ghost of Mars is a piece of shit. The Ward, I don't hate it as much as most people do. I never hated it. I never thought it was the biggest piece of shit like most people. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's an embarrassment either. Like, I don't think it's a fucking Toby Hooper's Gin. I definitely don't think that. Not The Gas Chamber. I swear to you, it's a real movie. Don't have to ask permission to film on the sidewalk across the street. I feel like, knowing my luck, though, there would be some fucking issue. Like the cops would get called or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I set up with a table and I would have to connect to the Wi-Fi, that would be very interesting. I would love to try to pull it off. Because how funny would that be? Like, just be like, good, we're live from the graveyard in the middle of fucking Amityville. And that would be so crazy, man. Maybe. I'll try. I swear to you guys, I will try. But I just don't know. Like, I would think I need their permission. And I would need their fucking Wi-Fi password. So I don't know. But worst comes to worst, we'll do a backdrop. We'll just do the Amityville Horror House behind me. Instead of the two posters, we'll have the windows right here. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, no. So that was the Cursed Object show, ladies and gents. Of course, Christine. The one I recommend the highest, 1408, Oculus, all very good, solid movies. If I had to rank the three, Christine, 1408, Oculus, I guess reverse order in how I reviewed them, I guess. So worst to first or least to best, whatever the fuck. I really like all three films, though. I think all three films are definitely worth your time. And if you guys have ones that you would want to recommend in the chat for people down below, you totally can. If you're catching the replay of this, you totally can. If you want to let me know what you think of the three films, you can let me know down below. I definitely would like to hear that if you guys are catching the replay of this. Don't have to. I'm sorry. I've already read that. They Live is Matt. Really? I fucking love They Live. I don't mind The Ward. The best thing about that film was Carpenter's filmmaking. He still had it as a filmmaker, but that script needed some work. Yes, it's a messy script. It's a very, very generic script. But I thought the direction was fine. I mean, again, it's not a Christine, not a director for hire job like Christine was, but he still did a really good job, in my opinion. I don't know. Big Trouble was my childhood. Dude, you had a great childhood then. You know what Jack Burton says? What the hell? And it is raining cats and dogs. I love it. I mean, I don't know. I've always thought about doing, director retrospectives, like director spotlights, like I do the actor ones. Craven was one I always really wanted to do, but maybe we'll do fucking Carpenter one day. Or I did one on Romero when I was staying with my sister. That was a very fun episode. I did like an impromptu Romero retrospective, which was a lot of fun to do. And I also think I'd done Argento. I think I did Argento and Romero, who are my favorite too. So that makes sense. But maybe one of these days, maybe we'll do a Carpenter retrospective. Only on the graveyard. Well, yeah, that is, we are going to end the show. However, I'll give a brief preview to next week. Next week on Grande's Graveyard, I promised it before. Finally, I got my fucking Blu-ray in of Who Could Kill a Child. We were going to be doing a Spanish Spotlight episode where we discussed the horror films of course, fucking, oh my God, I forgot his damn name. Serrador Iglesias. What the fuck is his name? Narcisco Ibanez Serrador. That's his fucking name. I'm sorry. I completely blanked out on his name, which, of course, he was a television creator in Spain. Of course, he created the show Historias para no dormir, which is from the mid to late 1960s. It was a very scruffy looking kind of production, a kind of Spanish version of the Twilight Zone, for lack of a better term. Very interesting show, which I got from Severin Films. Of course, The House That Screamed, which I did the Blu-ray spotlight of from Arrow. And of course, finally, Who Can Kill a Child. It was back ordered and I finally got it in the mail. So I promised that show. I'll be doing that show, kind of a Spanish spotlight horror special, if you will, on the films of Narcisco Ibanez Serrador. So super excited for next week's show. It should be a lot of fun. We'll be diving into some Spaniard horror, if you will. So I'm looking forward to that. But everybody, I appreciate it. You guys were wonderful guests as always. Always a good time in the graveyard. Like I said, if you're catching the replay, totally let me know what you think of these films. Let me know what you think of the show. You can leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I always happy to see all that stuff. Great show, my man. Stay frosty. Trench, always good to see your name, man. Thank you so much for being a part of the chat tonight. I might be in trouble next week. No Oblis no hablas en español. No, you don't hablas. I speak a lot of fucking Spanish, actually. I speak really fucking fluent Spanish. Black Hearts from the King of Hearts, King of Gore. Fantastic show. Thank you so much. Mateo going, hell yeah, hell yeah. People saying bye, everybody. All right, everybody. We will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. And been getting ready for work. Great show per usual. Thank you so much. But we have to only on the Graveyard. I did extra emphasis for Brian. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate the love and support as always. Have a safe, happy, healthy, wonderful weekend. We will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Good night, everybody.